I just wanted to say that if this is not inspiring, what it should be then. So I was just thinking while listening to you that for me, this presentation you made answer many of the questions that we all did the first day. And it is also a very good example that shows us one of the ways to put in action many of the things with a political stance, I also think. A very good alternative of traditional psychiatry. Many things also come to my mind about solidarity, new possibilities, and more possibilities to find our place in life instead of these limited possibilities we have with start from a diagnosis. And I know that those of you and I that we are looking for a different practice, we can be inspired, and also I know that everyone would like some support in finding the way to do their own way. You will be there for help us. And I want just also trying to remind some of the things other people said during these days. As Chile, for instance, you were saying about looking for community answers. And here we have a very good example. And also what Bob was saying yesterday about that when we think in alternative, it's better, instead of thinking what should be good for one group, for instance, the so-called clients, it's very good to think about an alternative that what is good for society. And I also think this is a very good example. So just wanted to say thank you.
I was impressed by the term ordinary life. And ordinary life as a therapeutic intervention. It's such a contradiction of terms, and yet it's so real, and this adds to the richness of voices that we have, like from looking for alternatives in institutional care, as Sami brought out.
Just hold it
Closer. Okay. So looking for alternatives in institutional care, and then at a very, very different end of a spectrum, we have very real life with very ordinary life, with people reacting as ordinary human beings outside of a role of therapist, and which is a very different way of being a therapist, and yet still being there with a purpose, with an intention to make a difference, and yet being a person. So there are some fascinating contrasts here embedded in your voices. And this is just making it all the more real in so many more dimensions. The voices that have come together in this theme. So I'm just touched and grateful for your sharings.
Just wanted to add also what Sami Kimimi was saying yesterday about don't lose your hope. So now I think we all have a little more hope.
Can I just say something that I was thinking about now when you were speaking, John, that you said, oh, this is fascinating with the ordinary life as a therapy. Because Mia, that is working with us, you are one of our family homes, you said to me the other day here, I don't really understand this, to have a conference about this. Because, you know, people, they come to me and I help them and they go on with their lives and I go on with my life. And now we're saying, oh, it's so fascinating. And your life is fascinating, Mia.
Shall you leave the space for people to ask questions? Or? I don't know about the time. I'm a police.
We have good time.
Okay.
We have good time. Okay. You perhaps, I'm not sure if you were first, but you're closest.
Okay, so,
Nej, jag har inget problem med det.
okay.
I wanted to start off with saying thank you very much for sharing with us. And yesterday I was part of a group where we were kind of doing an exercise around how do we as professionals sustain ourselves to go on and keep the hope going. And I summarized it with a view to kind of sending everybody the summary of what we did. And when I was summarizing it last night, it started to develop its own little life and turned itself into a kind of prose poem. And because we were very privileged in that group, there were only 8 people, of which 3 of them were family home mothers. So their voice was very strong in that poem when it came out. I mean, I had heard it in the room, but I didn't hear it as strong as it came out in the poem. So if people would be prepared to bear with me for 3 minutes, if it's okay if I share that poem here, I'd have had permission from them. And none of these are my own words. They are the words that came back from the group. So not one of these is my own words. I'm just reading them. So this is how it goes. Despair. A picture, young girls with scars, self-harm, lacking time to talk, a system that demands documenting our assessment of risk, that we've not done anything wrong, not what we do that is right. A group of social work supervisees, losing bearings, serious situation, love the work and the clients. Difficult to get feedback from the organisation. Family home mothers. Our job is to be a normal context. Keep going. Offer somewhere safe. Someone who loves you, wants for your best. You professionals can't dare to do the wrong thing, according to the system. We can do the wrong thing. We take the fight because the client ain't going nowhere. Willingness to try. Swamp, foggy swamp, tug of war, caught between demands of system and seeing the person, avoiding blame, want to resolve conflict, this and that, fractionism. Hard to operate from a place of fear, medical malpractice, lawsuits, dissonance. Paid to rebel? Having a history with resistance has been isolating. Sometimes inclusion is exclusion. We, collectively, we don't respond collectively. That is a missed opportunity to join with others with similar sentiments. Find a collective voice in the group. Step outside and dare to. We can say, what could be worse? The damage is already done. Move from the swamp. Connect with a group beyond the workplace. Staying with the struggle. Learning from the client. Staying curious. Willing to wait for a bit. Sit with contradictions. Allow space for difference. Stay in connection with each other. No hurry to get out.
to comment on something that I found quite fascinating. Hampus said a couple of things, and then Carl made a comment about them. And then Carl asked a question which Hampus answered, and I'm thinking, here we're back at the question of rage and anger, and what place does it have? What kind of importance does it have? Where does it go? Where does it get placed? Who does what with it? And I think this is a very fascinating question. It would be most unfortunate if the anger just dissipates. But the question is, where should it go? Should it be pointed at the psychiatrist, the bad psychiatrist? Or is that a waste of time and a waste of energy? We talked, the solidarity has been mentioned. What does rage have to do with solidarity? Is it possible to bundle rage in a collectivity, in collective action, in new actions, in creative actions? So, yeah, I was just thinking this little interchange there sparked a flurry of very interesting thoughts. Thank you very much.
May I? Do you want someone to answer, or what?
Sure.
I just want to say that pretty many of us are pretty often furious, and that's a very good driving force. Yeah.
Hampus, I was wondering if I could ask you a question.
Of course.
Because I think you have experienced something very valuable. The difference between how you were met at the ward and how you were met here at the foundation. Can you please try to sum up some of your experience, how you felt when you were met in a different way?
Well, it was completely different. I guess there's hard to find any similarities. So my feeling was that when I met Carina, I was respected, I was listened to. My thoughts and feelings, they were relevant. At the psychiatric ward, none of that was relevant at all. I mean, I guess, I don't know, my feeling is that the policy of psychiatry is to not promote the illness, I guess, and trying to understand what someone in a so-called psychosis is saying, I guess, perhaps would fall into that category, promoting the illness. But I would say that's sort of counterproductive, because what I found is the understanding is the key. So, and the non-understanding just makes it worse, of course, because the reason I was taken to the psychiatric ward was, I guess, that I acted in a very paranoid way. I felt really scared at the time when I was taken away. And well, that fear was brought on by the anticipation, actually, of this kind of treatment. And I don't think I would have behaved that strange if it weren't for that anticipation of being taken away. And if that wasn't something I would have to fear, then of course it would be easier to open up about the thoughts I have, I guess.
I just want to add, with your permission, and you don't know what I'm about to say, so just not me. But one of the moments where this rage is raised is, for example, because we started to talk by the telephone. You phoned since you had watched some of Daniel Makla's movies, or you have read about.
Well, I had read about it.
Yeah, read about it. So we started to talk by the telephone, and as you said, then you came to Gothenburg. But we also had an appointment with your parents, who flew together with you to Gothenburg to, together with me, talk about what happened a year and a half before. And that situation is still, so I feel I tremble when I think about that it didn't happen in Umeå. Already when you were into the hospital, that this possibility to talk about these things were not available. And that is hard to find an excuse for that, I think.
Olga?
Yeah. Hi, I just want to say, of course, I love hearing about these islands of humanity that are sort of dotted around the world, of which yours is one of them. I had a thought to you. I was thinking this one by confronting. I think it's a very good idea. We need to confront. We need to stand up as a collective. I don't mean that you have to go out and do it, but one of the things I was thinking, you've been a couple of years in the system, because yes, the very first thing that most people say is, oh well, you must have gotten a wrong diagnosis. I always say, well, are you aware? In my case, anyway, I say, are you aware of how many psychiatrists I've met during my 10-year psychiatric career? That's an awful lot. And I say, if they've all been unable to diagnose me correctly, what does that say about your, profession? And that tends to create a bit of a, yes. Anyway, so that's a very good one. Remember that one. And then the other one I was thinking was a question more, is that I think an organisation, when it comes out, when there's so much anger against what we try to stand for, to open up for other spaces, other voices. And I know in Sweden they're quite, sounds like they're very aggressive, certainly with Robert Whittaker's book. I'm thinking if this comes out, you have something that is unique. And if people suddenly realise that you say, we're helping people off the drugs and stuff, how can you defend, not be closed down like we hear other places are? And I think this is one of the biggest tragedies. Of course, I think we would all rally around, and we must start to do this, is one of the things I think. And that's one of the reasons I think we must take stands. We mustn't talk only. We have to take a stand. So, but I don't know if you have sort of plans to try and, ensure you don't get shut down as a place.
There.
This is good exercise for you, John.
Thank you very much. I am deeply touched to see these young, beautiful people saving their own lives, and probably if you continue like this, you'll save a lot of others. Because when we use the average loss of life, 20 to 25 years, you are not counting those who die before they are 30 or before they are 20. They lose their total adult life. And it's a tragedy, because promising young people who can afford to lose anyone whom you already love. And the loss is for the rest of their lives, for our lives. When I came here in a terrible thunderstorm, which shook me terribly when I got off the train, because the lightning and the thunder was directly overhead, we ran to a taxi, Bob and I, and we were followed by two lovely ladies from South America. And I remember the one name because she approached me yesterday, Adela. And Adela asked me, do you know about the women at the Plaza Mayor in, which town is it?
Buenos Aires.
Thank you. Of course we know about the mothers and the grandmothers and the sisters marching and marching. Every week we should start doing those things together. Next year is an election for the councils, the community, the local community. We should demand that this tragedy of forcing harmful therapies like I never say medicine because that's sort of positive. I say medications or chemicals. We should demand the end to coercive psychiatry. That some people choose to go to traditional therapies, that's quite okay if they feel helped by it, but no one should be coerced. And that's the first aim we have to save all those promising, beautiful young people. Because so many have died that I have known, and all of them died before they reached 50. So there's a tragic loss of life and possibility. And then I'll tell you one, I'm very thankful to have been able to be here because I have learned a lot, and I'll take it with me and I'll try to use it as to my best ability. But I have a friend here and I've asked her permission to tell you what she told me yesterday. I never wished to become a wise person, she said. I just wanted to live an ordinary life and be happy. Thank you.
I might say something which not exactly in the mainstream of today's discussion, even if I share, I think we have to fight against psychiatry. But I want to say something in addition. In my career, more than 40 years working in psychiatric institution, I met maybe 5 to 10 nurses, male or women like you, who have the ability to meet and be with people who are totally paranoid or have a very difficult way of dealing with the world. Most of us are not able to do that, and I'm not sure that what you do, it can be generalized. Maybe we should promote people who have the ability, the personal ability to do that, to be more valued in institution. But so that's what I wanted to add, because I think we are very different. I'm not very sure I could do what you did with your patients, but I am sure I was able to do other things with other type of patient, or with other patient where I felt helpful. I was always against medication, but sometimes I do prescribe that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing this up. Because I am absolutely sure that if it, as you say, it is someone alone who should be help for someone else, I don't believe in that either. And that is what I tried to express during my little speech, that if it hadn't been for all the people surrounding me, of course it had not been possible. And I agree with you. I think there are some people more meant to meet people than others. That I'm absolutely sure of. But I do want very much to say that what we have at least an intention to try to describe is more a community, as Leticia talked about, with a lot of different experiences, with a lot of different skills, with a lot of different, how can I say, defects also. Because we talk far too little about the defects we have. If it hadn't been for my own defects, for example, it had been absolutely impossible for me to deal with people the way I do. So that is one of my best skills, actually, my defects. It's true.
Final brief comment from John Schotter.
I just want to add to some, because I think you have to add something to what you said about the defects. Because I don't think that's. I think you have to add that it's your awareness of your defects. I guess. I think. I mean, that's. I had a question earlier about the difference between psychiatry and what I have, the experiences I have had with you. And, well, I guess one other key thing is humility. Because in psychiatry, there's a complete lack of that. When they can't treat a patient, when they can't talk to a patient, when they believe they can't understand a patient, they take that as a sign of, well, you can't understand this patient. There is no logic there because I can't find it. That's a complete opposite to humility. And humility is something I felt when I talked to you. and yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
It's been said, I think it's attributed to Freud, that the best therapists are those who have suffered and endured and made it. Then the question is, how about other people who have not suffered? The answer apparently is that they can become good therapists too, but it takes much more work. So there's hope for many others. So, thank you for really coming out and making this one step more real for all of us. Thank you.
And before you go to lunch, I have a break. Sorry. Sorry.